Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. As always, we'll start with EVE Online, and it has been a little bit less than average EVE Online last week, although we did get lots of good news from CCP, lots of information on the development of the game, and for April they are planning a massive balance patch, mostly focused on the capitals and super capitals, but also changing some of the sub capitals. So very good news. I think that devblog was received really well, and I'm actually gonna make a separate video on that to take a look at all of the changes that CCP is planning. We also got a bit of a roadmap. Tier side is back on the menu, so it looks good for the people that want to see some nice balance changes coming to EVE Online. We also had the Triglavian video that was first leaked and now is showing on all the billboards throughout New Eden. Obviously, there's a very high chance that this is basically a teaser for what they're planning for Amsterdam, which is coming next weekend. So yeah, lots of great information, lots of stuff to look forward to when it comes to development of EVE Online. Still, in my opinion, the greatest game in the world. Definitely the unique sandbox, one of the only sandboxes out there at the moment. So I'm looking forward to that in game. As I've said, a little bit less than average. I did blow up another chunk from the moon in detail. So moon mining, it's every 2 weeks if you're interested in joining that. So last week on Thursday there was a chunk that I destroyed, and then the next one is of course in 2 weeks on Thursday, same time always. I set it for 1200 EVE time, and so 3 hours later I let it blow up all on its own, and that's the schedule for the moon mining in EVE Online. Other than that, I actually didn't play a lot. I did do a trip to Jita, of course, to try and sell some blueprint copies. I actually still have a lot of those that I need to sell, so perhaps I'll need to do some extra trips in order to move my inventory a little bit better. But I think outside of a couple of really small exploration sessions, I didn't play that much EVE Online last week. Which brings us to the reason why I didn't play a lot of EVE Online, and that is of course Path of Exile, the new league. Well, it's a bit of a mixed picture, to be honest. I personally like the league mechanic, mostly for some XP grinding, and so during the very first weekend of the week I started a chieftain for Flame Totem. It worked. He's very tanky, but it's pretty slow. The damage is not that great, so I switched to an Arc Totem Hero Pant. I just love the mechanic of Arc so much. It's so much more effective because it seeks its own target. It's basically a chain lightning that will always try to hit to its potential, so definitely a lot faster, a lot more damage, but I'm losing a lot of tank, and I actually died several times on that Hero Pant so far. Still making good progression, and I actually just arrived into the maps of Path of Exile. At this point I've actually done a couple of days where I tried to do some mapping and things like that. I already noticed that going to another tier of maps is definitely a pretty big jump up in difficulty, but staying in the low tiers, in the tier 1s and tier 2s for too long also seriously decreases the amount of XP that you're getting. So it's a difficult balance, and it does start to feel pretty grindy already. So at this point I personally am sort of thinking perhaps I should slow down the Path of Exile, try to combine things, because well, I'm obviously not a one game type of guy, although for the last 10 days I must say it's been pretty much exclusively playing a Path of Exile, and it is a lot of fun. I can't keep that up. I can't keep up a single game for weeks and weeks on end. I need that variety. So yeah, looking good for me for next week. I think a bit more EVE Online. I'm looking forward to all that Triglavian stuff, and then we also have Amsterdam there. What am I gonna do with Path of Exile? I think basically what I'm really happy about is that I started right at the start of the league. I know that I have a character that I really enjoy playing, which is the Arc Totem Hero Pant, even if he's not that powerful. So I'll just try and combine that probably on the weekends or something like that to do some good mapping sessions to slowly get him up in levels, and to try to make some progress in the gear, and perhaps find the build that I have followed, which is based around Arc Totem, but then has the Soul Mantle, 2 rings that negate 80% of the curses that you apply on yourself, and then you actually get a gem that gives you a massive 20% damage boost for every curse that's active on you. That's basically the guide that I followed for the crit build that I'm actually using at the moment. Lots of fun, and I think my longer term goal for the league is not to start a lot more characters or to try lots of fancy stuff or things like that. Perhaps I'll find the energy to do that, but right now, no, it's looking like I'm gonna focus on that Arc Totem character, slow it down a little bit, and basically slowly work my way towards the needed currency to get all the gear that I need for the build. It's got some expensive ones as well in there that could be optimal, and then we'll see what else I am interested in. And normally that would be it for this week, but I quickly want to mention a Steam sale that I'm noticing right now. It is for Total War Warhammer 2, 66% off of the base game. That's a game that's on my wishlist. It's definitely on my radar, and at some point I am going to pull the trigger. And basically, if I didn't have so much to do, I would probably at least buy the base game at this price, or I would be willing to buy the base game at this price. So I think I'll wait for a better opportunity later down the line, but I did think of mentioning it because it made me hesitate when I noticed how low the game actually was. It must be said, for Total War Warhammer 2 there is a lot of DLC, and that is not 66% off, but Rise of the Tomb Kings, very interesting added race there, is at 50% off. The Queen and the Crown also 50% off, and then Curse of the Vampire Ghost, which I think is the latest one, is only 20% off. So for your consideration, Total War Warhammer 2, it's definitely on my wishlist at Steam, and right now the base game is at a nice discount. And that's gonna be it for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.